Timeout Sports Lounge. Hot takes, cold drinks, slinging everything. Hunter Baumgart's behind the glass. The NicolaLaw.com talking text line, 877-794-1973. Don't call now, though. Line 1 is occupied by our pal, the voice of the Badgers, Matt Lepay. Our conversations with Matt brought to you by Ridgetop Exteriors, the epitome of expertise and reliability in home exterior solutions. Get started at ridgetopexteriors.com. Matt, fresh as a daisy after a night in New Jersey. How we feeling?
Feeling good. I'm here in the dark room for those watching. It's actually a black hoodie, but it's green. This is really crappy lighting. So I apologize. So, but I'm doing well. Survived another night with Butchie. Got back like at 1:15, which meant he probably pulled into his driveway around 3:15, 3:30 this morning. And bright-eyed, bushy-tailed for Zabe and the boys. But it was good. It was good to see these guys win a road game. It's been a minute since they've won a true road game, so that was good.
Is there anything more exciting than Jersey on a Monday?
Probably Jersey. Well, Jersey on a Tuesday, it just builds during the course of the week.
Oh, yeah. So, I stay away from the weekends. I couldn't handle it.
In New Jersey. That was an interesting game. I thought the Badgers had picked up in the first couple minutes, first half. Thought they'd picked up where they left off against Iowa, and then it got a little muddier and a little more nerve-wracking as the game went on. But isn't that pretty much par for the course playing Rutgers out there?
Yeah, especially there. I guess what last night showed is that Wisconsin can win in a couple of different ways after the defense optional, so nobody played any Friday against Iowa when they scored 116 points, and then a game like last night, which was a little bit more of a grinding kind of game, and yet Wisconsin still scored 75 points. What was interesting in the game, and I think is really going to be interesting moving forward, looking at the opponent's bench, Rutgers has two of maybe the three most highly touted freshmen in college basketball. There's Cooper Flagg at Duke. There's Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey at Rutgers. Those guys will probably not be sophomores. They'll be picked early in the June NBA draft. But Harper's been battling an illness, didn't play a whole lot, didn't score, and Ace Bailey went 3 for 16. So that was a big key, and yet Rutgers still got within 3 in the second half, but Badgers were able to pull away, which was good. I mean, they figured it out. Everybody chipped in here or there. Tanjay got going in the second half. Blackwell and Steven Crowell he's on a pretty good little run right now.
Is it too simplistic to say as Steven Crowell goes, so go the Badgers? Because when he plays well, they seem to click.
Yeah, I think it might be, Drew, but he's really, really important to them. And it's been interesting to watch over these last few games. They've dialed back his minutes. In the last couple of years, he's played in that 30-minute per game range, and he looked like early in this season he might be on a similar pace. But in the Illinois game, he didn't play much, didn't have a rebound in the game, and was really scuffling. So now he's playing. Last night it was maybe 24 minutes, looking at it right now, almost 25, which is upper end for him of late. It's been in that 20-minute or so range, and where they're just saying, hey, man, we're going to dial it back a little bit, but when you're out there, dial it up. Just let it rip. Go. And we'll sub for you. Don't worry. We're not going to ask you to play ridiculous amounts of time. And that may be the magic potion with him right now. It's his first double-double of the year, but it's really a quality over quantity with Stevie, and it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds the rest of the year. But I think that amount of playing time is good for him. I don't know if you want to get much more than that 24, 25-minute a game range.
My wife and I were watching the game last night, and while she was intently focused on the stats and, the ball rotation, I noticed that the Badgers have gone to shorter shorts. They're back to the short shorts. I'm kind of liking that.
Oh, throwback.
The things you noticed. That's why you are who you are.
She's watching the game, and she was watching, Blackwell and how he plays. She goes, I like how he plays. I go, that man, they're all wearing short shorts.
Yeah. Your wife's fixated on points per possession. And
yes.
Katie's going, hey, I can see their knees.
Look at that. They got, wow.
Yeah. Whoa.
Awesome.
I think it's kind of a trend. Maybe watch some other college basketball games. The Fab 5 days, they had the long shorts, and now we're 30 years later. We're kind of kicking it old school again.
No, I think Jordan Poole was.
Yeah, he might have.
He was when he was at Michigan. He was one of the first on that trend.
Good call.
Bringing that back.
That is a good call. So Matt, you mentioned I got to ask about the Iowa game because that I knocked me over with a feather, as Hardcourt would say. I had no idea the Badgers would score 116 points in a Big Ten game at the Kohl Center. That was not a quadruple overtime. And then they get in a rock fight last night, like you mentioned, and score 75. This is the new normal now. Should we be adjusting our paradigms and being north of 100 isn't a once a century occurrence anymore?
Yeah, it's twice this year, 103 against Arizona. And you mentioned Hardcourt. Yes, it is the polar opposite because as much as he loves soccer, scoring at will, it's still 0-0, I think is what our guy used to always say.
Always.
Iowa has not been known for its defense. It scores a lot. It is perfectly happy winning 88-85. And they weren't guarding very well, obviously, Friday, but you still have to make the shots. 21 threes, and you're just like, what? They did what? And they just kept, and Iowa was pressing with the game seemingly out of reach. So when someone's pressing you, you have to attack, which Wisconsin did and was able to knock down more shots. It was a little bit surreal watching it. I think the encouraging thing about last night, guys, they didn't play great in stretches. They turned it over 16 times in that game, and that was big for Rutgers. They only got to the foul line. They were 6 for 6. This is a team that gets to the foul line a lot and is the best as the best free throw shooting percentage of the country, but only got there 6 times and didn't shoot they were 7 of 22 from 3, but still won the game. They were able to get the ball to the rim. They took maybe a few more mid-range shots than we're used to seeing here this season with Wisconsin, but it was a pretty good clip last night. But they love to shoot the threes. They love to get to the rim and get to the free throw line. They got to the rim. The other 2 boxes, they really didn't check all that much, but still found a way to win the game. And I think slowly but surely the defense is starting to improve now with these guys.
That's the thing, though. You mentioned 16 turnovers, and to give up 18 offensive rebounds, you don't usually win a game with those 2 numbers on the box score.
No, you don't. Now, there were a lot of chances for Rutgers to get offensive rebounds because it missed 48 shots in the game. But you're right. Those are, that was the weird thing. All those offensive rebounds, Rutgers had 6 second chance points in the game. So there were some oddities in that game, but still for, the Badgers to go on the road. These last 2 games are really important because they've been playing some pretty decent ball for the most part this season, but they were 0-2 in the Big Ten. They lost their 2 league games in December to Michigan and to Rutgers. So that Iowa game carried some weight for being early in the conference season. So now they're 2-2. They got Minnesota coming in. They got the next 2 games are home, Minnesota and then Ohio State before they go to the West Coast. So a chance for these guys maybe to keep this going and get on a little bit of run and maybe get into the mix a little bit in the conference race.
Seeing, you mentioned going on the West Coast, and as I was watching the game last night, I saw the the promo for the Big Ten games coming up this weekend, and one of which was UCLA against Maryland. And we've lived through the absorption of the Pac-12 by the Big Ten in football. What do you think the impact of that is going to be in basketball? I know UCLA is very highly ranked. I think they're 6th or 7th.
Yeah.
And it changes the landscape quite a bit.
I think what it does, Greg Gard and I have talked about this, because for the longest time in college sports, a league is maybe labeled as being like the old days Big Ten football, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and the Pac-12, kind of the fancy, the Hollywood, throw the ball all over the place. And basketball, the Big Ten forever, half-court league for the most part, man-to-man. And I think with 18 programs now, both coasts are covered. You can't really label a conference anymore. And one of the things that has been a bit of a criticism for the Big Ten and why it's 25 years removed from its last national championship team is that, people have said there hasn't been enough variety within the league. And I think now there is more variety. Iowa always plays a certain way. UCLA, for a Southern California team with Mick Cronin, they're a little bit more grinded kind of game. But Oregon, they can get up and down, and you just have, it's not a one size fits all in the conference. So I think for the fan, there's a little bit more variety, and maybe for these teams, I don't know if there's a title team here. Maybe KB Illinois is really, really talented. But but still, I think maybe this league gives itself a better chance in March just because it is not and is no longer a one-size-fits-all kind of conference.
Well, it's going to make the Big Ten tournament very interesting as well.
Yeah, and 15 teams, 3 teams won't make it. So that's their, it's not going to be all 18 getting in. So, and that's always when you're in it, you want to win it. And at the same time, I thought last year Wisconsin may have emptied the tank in the conference tournament, getting to the championship game and playing Illinois to the final minute or two. And then they just looked like a team that had nothing left in the NCAA tournament. Now, if you're really, really good and talented, like the 15 Wisconsin team, then you could take it all the way to the championship game. But it's one of those, like, what's the perfect scenario when you get into a conference tournament, especially now a 15-team event? But once you're there, I mean, the emotions start to take over, and you want to do everything you can to win it.
Matt Lepay joining us. The Badgers have the Golden Gophers at the Kohl Center on Friday night. Matt, what does your gut say about Matt Klesmet? Was he limping off the plane? Did he look like he might be okay? Did they dodge one there?
I really hope so, because when he first went down, it did not look good at all. I think it might have scared him a little bit. They were off today. They didn't practice today. They'll be back on the floor tomorrow and Thursday. I think there's some cautious optimism that it isn't that bad with him. It sounds like Nolan Winter is going to be fine. But with Max, when you're grabbing your ankle like that, you want to. I'm guessing probably didn't feel great here today, but he's a pretty tough dude. So at his final go round at the college level, if there's a way where it makes sense for him to play, I would imagine he will. But it's going to be interesting tomorrow. I'm sure he was getting a lot of treatment today, and then tomorrow and Thursday, how that responds when he's out there really testing it.
Injuries like that always happen to guys who are on a heater. You hit a couple shots and then you roll your ankle and you got to go sit down. Like,
it's the worst pain ever.
He missed his first couple on the night. Then he's okay. Then he starts to get hot and then, ankle out.
Yeah. He had one wiped out because of an illegal screen that popped him open. He drilled a shot there, and then the play was basically dead. But, the Rutgers guy had his back turned to the play, and Max is taking a shot. So he comes out on him. I know on X, where all the experts are, that was supposedly a dirty play. I don't think that really qualified as such. It was just one of those, it happens a lot in basketball where you go up and you land on someone's foot, and that was what happened.
Yep, just bad luck. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Matt.
We'll be listening on Friday, and have a great week.
All right, boys, take care. Good talking to you.
All right, Matt Lepay joining us in the Central Standard Distillery Timeout Sports